What is going on, Clippers fans? Welcome to randomly an Easter edition of Clips and Dip. We're here to decompress about game one, look ahead to game two about things that need to happen differently, some things that need to happen the same that they did, but just an incredibly frustrating loss from the Clippers yesterday. I think a lot of people are of the belief that this was the Clippers did this to themselves, which I think is pretty fair. There were some incredibly annoying turnovers in this game. We saw Kawhi Leonard kind of go out of attack mode in the second half specifically, which we're going to talk a little bit about. But there's some good stuff from Ty Lue at practice today. If you're new to the stream, I'm Chuck Wackler. I'm in the Bay. I'm up in Oakland for a close friend's birthday, so we are hanging out. Wearing the Batum shirt today. Hope everyone's doing all right. Steve Rodriguez, hope you're good. We're going to put this out as audio after this at some point, but if you want to subscribe to the YouTube and see us when we're live and watch our old videos, check us out at youtube.com/@ClippersPodcast. Are people feeling confident? I was upset about the game yesterday, obviously. But we had to deal with Kawhi's worst turnover game that he's ever had in the playoffs with 7, which is terrible. Kawhi, he faded down in the second half. There was not very good Kawhi for the most part. He only took 5 shots in the second half. Ty Lue talked about it today at practice that they need to get Kawhi into attack mode and have him basically not care what actions the Nuggets are throwing at him. So that's an adjustment that needs to be made. I'm not really sure how you do that other than just saying, hey, please get into attack mode. But that's where we're at. Logan Rapp, how are you doing, Logan? Said it was a missed opportunity for an early kill shot. My corner of Clipperdom is annoyed, but it only reinforces that Clips in 6 is pretty sound. Uh-oh. Adam Oslin, fresh off the gym, I'm only assuming. How are you feeling?
I'm all right. Do I sound okay, Chuck? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you sound good.
I think I feel worse than last night.
You feel oh
No. I do feel better. It's a new day. But I like what you just said. I was echoing similar sentiments last night. It's a missed opportunity. That's a game. I don't understand. I'm listening to a lot of podcasts today recap the game, and a lot of them aren't even bringing up how the Clippers were up 12 in the first quarter and up 15 with 5 minutes left in the second quarter. They
right.
were up 15 with 5 minutes left in the second quarter. You have to have a double-digit lead at the half, and they had a 4-point lead.
Yeah, I mean the first quarter from the Clippers in terms of pick and roll, it looked like the Nuggets didn't really know what to do with it, and so we were able to kind of play the game we wanted, and then the Nuggets really stepped it up, and yeah, the double digit leads aren't getting brought up, which I guess is good from Clipper standpoint. So they don't talk about how we blew it, but yeah, it was. This was they let this one slip, and it was the turnovers are brutal. The attack mode thing is difficult to kind of reconcile with from Kawhi because it's like, well, let's get into attack mode now. It is the playoffs, so I don't know, but we have one more quarter of the rotation. The hot thing that people are upset about is the rotation right now. So we just gotta hope that it works out.
I guess what specifically are people upset with after one game with the rotation? Like, we saw a lot of the same lineups we had been seeing, and Bogey was miserable. I can't defend that. He was awful, and he played less minutes than Ben Simmons.
Yeah, he
in the
played.
game.
He played. Oh, sorry, that's just. I think he played 13.
12 or 13.
Oh, yeah.
And
4 fouls.
You can't have Bogey and Norman Powell be that bad in the same game because the backup to Norman Powell having an off shooting game is Bogey. So for both those guys to be shooting that poorly at the same time and turning it over the way they were, like that Norman Powell turnover where he looks off of Ivica Zubac for some reason, who had Aaron Gordon on him. Yeah, the pass to Christian Brown. Kawhi had one of those too in the second quarter. Those are just inexcusable. Guys look rattled. It's a big playoff moment type of turnover. That's so out of the ordinary.
Do you think it was a fatigue thing? Because there was a bunch of people tweeting. Like Russo tweeted this too about like the guys just looked really tired, and I'm wondering if it was the altitude thing or something. But Harden brought it up too, just about like kind of post game, like not understanding what the issues were. So maybe it's just the altitude, but I don't know. The lack of focus on those turnovers was absolutely infuriating.
I think the fatigue did play a role, and some people are going to say no excuses and yell at clouds and all that. It's like it's an explanation. Do you guys not understand? Olympians train in high altitude. The training center is in Colorado for a reason. Like that is a real thing. It's scientific. The Denver Nuggets in bad seasons have a good home record because it is a real home court advantage. Is that the reason they lost this game? No. You have to be better than they were. And some of those were, I think, mental miscues. And some of it was Denver switching up their defense and ramping up the intensity after the Clippers went up 15. They turned up the heat on them, and the Clippers didn't respond very well. But Kawhi, I was tweeting it out during the game. He looked noticeably tired. It was obvious. He got taken out. He took one shot the first 6.5 minutes of the third quarter.
Damn.
And he got taken out, and that's a weird sub. And Russo asked Coach Lou post game because he noticed it too. Like, was that intentional? Would that be normal? Was he taking him out because Kawhi looked gassed? Coach Lou said that was the plan. So take what you will out of that. But Kawhi to me looked definitely fatigued and was lacking aggressiveness. And some of that is Denver and Aaron Gordon. And I said 2 years ago, Aaron Gordon's one of the best defenders on him. And everybody coming into this series was like, oh, what about what Kawhi did against him in 2019? Aaron Gordon's a totally different player now. Aaron Gordon bought into being a superstar in his role instead of trying to be a number one option or a number two option on a championship team. He became a do-everything, almost a Draymond Green type in some ways for them. And he outscored Kawhi in that game. You're probably not going to win if Aaron Gordon outscores Kawhi.
He was probably like the third most important player in that game yesterday. AG. He played a really good game of basketball. The Kawhi field goal attempt thing is so frustrating. 5 field goal attempts in the second half. I think he took 1 in overtime. It's like this is sometimes the game is as simple as your highest paid superstars need to take and make shots. And I guess that's why I feel a little bit better than I did yesterday in the immediate, because I was like, this is as poor as Kawhi can play, I think, in terms of aggression, obviously quite literally in terms of turnovers. I don't see it being that bad again tomorrow. So that's where I'm finding some kind of hope.
That's true. I expect Kawhi to play better. I expect one of Norman Powell or Bogey to be better tomorrow. But is James Harden going to be as efficient and as good as he was in game 1? Is Ivica Zubac? Is Nico Batum going to go 3 of 6 from the outside? And are Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic not going to be better? Because, to be honest, they had subpar games. They can both play much better than they did. They shot, and I heard this from Locked On Nuggets, according to the analytics, the Denver Nuggets shot 44% on layups. This wasn't just Russ. Nikola Jokic missed some gimmies in this game. There was some weird stuff. He missed those 2 free throws late in the game.
That was genuinely shocking.
Right?
Well, I mean, MPJ
Sorry.
also had a bad game. MPJ was bad on offense for the Nuggets that game. So, man, it just feels cagey again. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like.
Here's the thing. It's the type of loss where if the Clippers lose by 10 in game 2, or if they lose this series, I'm going to look back on it and say, that was the game they had to steal in Denver, and they
100%,
blew it.
100%.
I have faith that they can win game 2, obviously, because it did feel like they lost it more than Denver won it, but it was probably like 60% they lost it, 40% Denver won it. It wasn't like they totally gave it away and the Denver Nuggets did nothing or had nothing to do with that. They had plenty to do with that.
Yeah, and I liked all the quotes in the post game. You know, James Harden was like, "That's the game," when talking about the turnovers, and it's like, okay, yeah, like very political thing to say, I think. The rotation stuff is really interesting. A bunch of people on Twitter are mad at Norm, and they think Derek Jones Jr. should be playing in Norm's spot. But
in game 1,
yeah, I'm like, dude, we have another half per Ty Lue today at practice. The norm, or not the norm, Batum hit, what did he play, 26 minutes?
Yeah.
He was at 20. No, he was at 24.
Hmm.
I think that's going to be the change if we see one after another bad half of basketball, is maybe Nico going in there. A lineup that we talked about, I think a couple weeks ago, you, me, and Will, it was Harden, Kawhi, Derek Jones Jr., Nico, and Zoo. They played 13 minutes all regular season together. They played 4 yesterday. I'm wondering if we see him lean on that a little bit more. It was plus
I
1.
could
It was
see
only
it.
4 minutes. It wasn't crazy.
Yeah. No, I could see it. And I've been saying all season, I think Nico is the ace in the hole. I believe they've been holding him back for a reason. Um, and he could end up being the starter for Norman Powell if things go wrong in a series, specifically against a team like Denver. So I wouldn't be shocked by that at all. But I want to ask you this. If Norman Powell doesn't have a big impact on this series, can they win? Can they win 4 games against Denver if Norm doesn't turn it around? I don't think you can completely go away from a guy that's been that important all season long and hope to beat a team that is pretty evenly matched against you. This isn't the Dallas Mavericks in 2021. Denver's
Right.
better than that. I think they're better than the Utah Jazz in the second round.
Yes. To the original question of can the Clippers win this series if Norm doesn't turn it around? No, I don't think so, because if they were to, that means also Bogey has gone nuclear consistently, right? Like
Sure.
if they were to win this series with Norm, like let's say Norm averages 12 points a game this series, which is what he had last game. I don't like that for the Clippers. That is a tall mountain to climb. It probably means that Kawhi's in attack mode if they do, right? Like we're getting more production or aggression out of them, but I don't think I don't know. I don't think they got the juice for that.
I think Norm is one of those guys you're going to live or die with because the idea and the reason we think this team is so good, a big part of that is based off of Norman Powell. Oh, look, you got Norman Powell as your 4th option. Like how what a luxury that is. How cool is that? If Norm's going, who's going to beat this team? If Norm's not going against a team like Denver, they can get away with Michael Porter Jr.
Yeah.
not having it more than the Clippers could get away with Norm not having it, I believe.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure. Because I mean, we saw yesterday, MPJ took 8 shots and 4 shots. Sorry, and they were fine. And how do we get Norm to figure it out? Do we just gotta hope he shoots and shoot? Just keep putting it out there and hope that he also cuts down on whatever the hell turnover virus he was infected with yesterday, because some those were inexcusable. That makes his game a lot better, I think, too, mentally, for him to get into a shooting rhythm if he's just not so careless and just making mistakes.
Yeah. No, I think Norm is somebody to me. I said this going into the series. I think he's one of those guys that's such a perfectionist. He puts too much pressure on himself and gets so mad and frustrated with himself. You saw it in the game against Golden State where Harden had to calm him down because he was
Yeah,
upset with the way he was playing. And he hits that 3 before the first half is over because there was no thinking going into that shot. The clock is
yeah,
running out. You have to put it up.
yeah,
And I think there's something to that. He's got to just play with instincts out there, not overthink things too much. Uh, but yeah, I think you just have to give him a longer leash. But yeah, if they're down in the first half and he's still shooting poorly, I think you can go away from Norm in a game or two
right.
and get by. I'm saying, can you win 4 games if Norman Powell is not an integral part of it? Because we're trying to win a series here, not just getting by in one game, but it does. There has to be a sense of urgency too. So there has to be some balance. If he's not playing well in game 2 in the first half, maybe you do make the move. But I don't think you can go, well, now he's out the rest of the series, even if they win that game,
Oh, that's
or he's only
brutal.
going to play 10 minutes a game the rest of the series. Like, you have to give him more opportunities.
You have to give him opportunities. I 100% agree with that. I thought the whistle was tough for the Clippers in game 1 too. I hope, and like you obviously hope that the whistle's going to be fine for Chris Dunn. You don't really expect it to be bad for James Harden and stuff like that. Ty Lue talked about it today, that the matchup with Harden on Aaron Gordon is really difficult because that's where he picked up, I think, most of his fouls, and they got to try and figure that out. So the whistle is something the Clippers haven't really had to. I mean, they've gotten hosed a couple times this season, but like this was the first time we saw all the main guys be in foul trouble, which I think was obviously threw a wrench in the game plan.
I do think there was some weak calls on Harden, a couple against Aaron Gordon where he's just running through him off ball, trying to get into the paint, and Harden gets trucked, and it's like that could easily be a no call. I think the Nikola Jokic flopping fouls that he was trying to get, and he did get a technical later on for what happened with him and DJ, and they were really battling. There's a clip out there of DJ being furious in the first half with the Jokic.
I'm worried about that a little bit because who gets the benefit of the doubt in those scenarios? The superstar, not the. I love Derrick Jones Jr., but like, man, I'm happy that I know what clip you're talking about. Where it looked like he's about to like swing on it, like he like does, but like we can't fall into that trap because Jokic will get the benefit of the doubt, and we can't have a shorter rotation than we kind of already had in game one, right? Like Bogey and Ben played 12 minutes. Like wasn't a 7-guy rotation, but it was pretty close. Like we gotta keep our cool in that scenario.
Yeah. To be fair, they did give him that technical when DJ kind of hit him with his arm trying to get him off him, and it grazed his nose, and he tried to sell it. And that put the Clippers up 4. That was really consequential at the time. I was surprised they did it. So I definitely think if anyone benefited from the whistle, it was Denver in game 1, but it's also not the reason the Clippers lost game 1 at the same time.
Yeah.
Now, Harden being in foul trouble at the end of the first half, and well, I pushed back against some of the criticism on Coach Lue in this game because at the heart of what happened was they had 20 turnovers. And coming into this series, Coach Lue said the main reason they lost was because of the 20 turnovers. And Coach Lue, the first practice when they were interviewing him, getting ready for the series last Monday or whatever it was, he said immediately, what do we have to do? Take care of the basketball. And he had been preaching this the entire time, and they didn't do it. So criticizing Coach Lue for these turnovers, which was the main reason they lost the game and got Denver back into it, is asinine to me. However, I do think there's other areas you can criticize him and say he didn't have a great game. Because at the end of the first half, I get taking Harden out when he had 3 fouls at that point. I don't get taking Kawhi out. He wasn't at heavy minutes at the very end of the first half. I think you could have at least let him in. It felt like they didn't have quite the sense of urgency when you look at minutes played and specifically end of second quarter, end of third quarter with guys who were out there on the court.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought of the minutes management like that in terms of like the urgency right there, but you're totally right. Like that, and the end of those 2 quarters were horrible for the Clippers.
I thought the Lob the Jam, the podcast, did a great job, our sister podcast or whatever on 213 Hoops, talking about how, look at this. I mean, I was wondering when Kawhi came out in the third quarter, I'm like, are they going to hold him out till the start of the fourth? Because I think he was just at 26 minutes at that point when he came out of the third quarter.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a second. He played heavier minutes the last couple of games of the regular season against the Kings and against Golden State. They had an overtime in this game, and he ended up at, 41 minutes? They had an overtime against Golden State, and he was at 47. This is a playoff game. I don't get that. Was he so tired? Was Coach Lue trying to hold something back? Does he think over the long run, the Denver Nuggets will get worn out more by playing their guys heavier minutes, and this will benefit them down the line in the series? I don't know, but that was interesting to me.
And that feels like a gamble. Is like, well, let's lean on the Nuggets, right? Like, and hope that they get fatigued. Well, we're down 1 game, so we leaned on them, and we're losing still. So, like, the Ty Lue meme, right? You go down 2 games, you come back and win the series. That's been the Clippers kind of thing, but it had to have been the fatigue. I think the fatigue really got to the coaching staff and how they were figuring out the minutes, right? Because we talked about those last 2 games against the Kings and the Warriors were playoff games. Effectively, that was the intensity level. There was things on the line. Also, with Batum's minutes, people are saying those are low. He's coming back from an injury. You can't go from missing 2 games straight into playing heavier minutes in a playoff basketball scenario. So, like, fouls, altitude, fatigue, I have to imagine the worst combo of that was yesterday. just because it's the first.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I
I didn't think about the Batum coming back off the
you're
injury part too.
Yeah, I was like looking at it this morning, and I was like, oh yeah, like he's still, like he missed 2 games, didn't even travel with the team. The turnovers are so tough though because it's just automatic points. The Clippers technically won fast break points, but it didn't feel like that at all. And every turnover you get, Christian Brown's going to be there to make the layup on the other end.
They led the league in fast break points. The Clippers knew they had a turnover problem. When they lose, typically turnovers are a big part of it. And while it's been much better since Kawhi came back and had his minutes ramped up, and they're down by like 2 turnovers per game, and they've been really good over the last 21 games. If you look at some of the games against better teams like Golden State, they had more turnovers in that game against better defenses. And I have never bought into the Denver Nuggets or a bottom 10 defense. I just haven't, because they have a lot of the same pieces that have been there for years. I think this was more about disinterest, what was going on in the locker room, and that they could ramp things up and be more of a middle of the pack defense than 21st defensively. And that's what we saw. I mean, both teams were tied at 98 heading into the fourth quarter. Now, the Clippers did shoot 50% from the field. That's the other frustrating part. You shot 7% better than them from the field and lost that game. Why? They got up 8 more shots. The offensive rebounds and the turnovers killed you. When the Clippers actually got shots up, they were hitting. So, yeah, there's a lot of things that were self-inflicted in that game, but it has to start with the turnovers and just being sloppy with the basketball and the mind-numbing turnovers. Like just the absolute – there's going to be 10 turnovers even if you're having a good game taking care of the basketball, just because there's another team out there.
But when you're just spastically throwing the ball, it's the Paul George turnovers, right? Where they're just unforced. You're shooting yourself in the foot. Kind of talking a little bit about defensive stuff. Law Murray asked some good questions to Ty Lue today about Chris Dunn on Jokic, because we've seen him basically, that's the move, right? Chris Dunn is a gnat to annoy Jokic and stuff like that, but he's sagging off of Westbrook, which makes sense for shooting a 3, but then he can do things like grab 2 huge offensive rebounds in overtime when you're sagging off him. That timing has to get figured out. Do you think that once, like just with another day, that the Clippers can work on the double timing basically, so Jokic doesn't see it coming as much?
Yeah, I'm guessing Law's point is they went to the double so quickly there instead of firing late that Denver still had plenty of time to figure out their offense on plays like that. And oh, by the way, Russ burned them with a huge 3-pointer in that game to put them up by 2.
Burned them like the last 6 minutes
The
of the
offensive
game.
rebounds, and part of the reason they're getting those offensive rebounds, you could say it's fatigue, but also when you're doubling Jokic, that's one less man that you have crashing the boards. So they have an advantage. And Russ and AG specifically are very scrappy when it comes to doing that. Now, Russ was still 5 of 17. And it's like, you live with that. AG, I think, is the one who ultimately killed him. He had 13 points in the fourth quarter and overtime combined, and some really clutch boards, and the Clippers could not get the 50-50 balls. But going back to what Law was talking about, I would just fire a little bit later and also just see how is Zoo holding up. Before we just give up and say Ivica Zubac can't guard Jokic one-on-one, why don't we actually see a little bit how the play is defending him and see how compromised he is, because Zoo is actually a pretty darn good defender against Jokic. And for a lot of the game, Zoo was getting the best of Jokic. Like he came out and had the first 6 points for the Clippers or 8 points. Like Zoo was doing more than holding his own. Jokic didn't have a great game at all.
Yeah, everything was running through Zoo to start. That first quarter, again, the pick and roll looked good. Zoo was getting a touch on the ball and then either moving it out, which led to an easier shot attempt, or was just going straight at Jokic and grabbing his own rebounds. So, I assume they'll spam that more in game 2. You brought up the Aaron Gordon rebounds. I just looked it up because I was like, oh, it felt like he had a lot of offensive rebounds. He and Russ had 9 combined. The Clippers had 11. And the Nuggets got 5 from Aaron Gordon and 4 from Russ. 2 of them in overtime. For as much as we talked about the Clippers being they're doing the little things, they're putting an emphasis on rebounding, all the stuff we heard in the preseason, we saw that in the regular season. It needs to be on a different level now in game 2, because the Nuggets, I like your point about them not being a bottom 10 defense, because if you kind of force turnovers and you're good at fast break points, that means that your defense is turning into easier offense, which is a very valuable
Yeah,
thing to do.
and they just weren't. They didn't have a care factor in the regular season. There was maybe a mutiny going on. Everything was toxic. Now they care. Now they're locked in. Now they're playing for something. It's the playoffs. And I wondered coming into the series, there was a strength versus strength battle. The Clippers finished number 1 in defensive rebounding percentage. The Denver Nuggets finished 5th in offensive rebounding percentage. So we knew that was going to decide a lot, and the Clippers lost that battle. They won it in the first half. They lost it when it mattered most, because all of those, I think 8 of how many offensive rebounds they had, 11 or 12? Like 8 of them came
11,
in, I think, the last 2 minutes of overtime, or the last 2 minutes of regulation into overtime. So we're talking about 7 minutes.
Yeah.
And they had 8 offensive rebounds there. And
Russ got half of his in OT.
That's won it more. That's I also think it's scheme, though, because if you have to double Jokic, there's one less guy. Dunn has gotten some really key rebounds for the Clippers this season. He's been good as a small crashing, just like Pat Bev used to be for them. So him having to come over and help Ivica Zubac, who's out on the right elbow or left elbow with Jokic, it's like, well, 2 of your better rebounders, definitely your number 1 rebounders, away from the basket. You're wondering how that's happening. That's why.
We wasted a good Chris Dunn shooting night. Shot 50%, made 2 threes, made 2 of his 5 3. Like, Chris Dunn was exactly what we kind of needed in that game offensively, right? He hit his shots. He wasn't a complete liability. That stings for me a lot more today. It's like, we can't waste the good Chris Dunn. I know he's been shooting great, but like, to lose a game where Chris Dunn is efficient from the floor is difficult. And obviously to lose a game where, like, this game went, I think Russo texted this game went the Clippers' pace. Like, everything other than the final score was how the Clippers wanted it to go. We just couldn't they just couldn't put it together after
they lost a defensive battle where they should have had the advantage. They should have won that game in so many different ways. Yeah, the thing I will say about Chris Dunn, first of all, I would say he's one of the guys that did his thing yesterday. Zoo, James Harden, Nico, those were the 4 guys that really performed, I think, for the Clippers overall, and you couldn't expect much more than they did. But Chris Dunn did miss the threes in the 4th and overtime when he had it in the corner.
Yeah.
Now, at least one of them was really well contested on a closeout from Jamal Murray, and they didn't just leave him wide open. So it wasn't as obvious as it can be at times when it's just he has 2 seconds to shoot that basketball. All eyes are on him. But yeah, he did miss some of the more crucial ones. I'm not putting the game on him. I'm just saying, like, I hope he comes through with those in the biggest moments later on. I'm not saying the ones he made early on didn't matter. They did. But he still has an ability to hit those ones because they're going to be there. If he's going to be out on the court late in games, they're going to be there for him.
Yeah, the ball is going to end up his way. That's a really good point. We need the clutch ones to go in. Yeah, I don't know, man. I hope we can make Jamal Murray work a little bit more on defense. He didn't really have to do a whole lot. You know, we talk about putting Jokic in motion and all this other stuff. It's not like Jamal Murray's having to do a whole bunch on defense, or at least in game 1.
Here's something I didn't like, the criticism on Coach Lue that I thought was overblown. Like, why did they call the timeout before that turnover with Kawhi the far sideline with Jamal Murray? It's like, wait a second. They got Jamal Murray on Kawhi. They got the matchup they wanted.
Right.
That's not a problem. Like, it's a fluky thing that happened.
You don't think that's going to be an issue.
It's one of those things that just happened. Like, you won the matchup battle there. You got what you wanted, and Jamal Murray stepped up and made a heck of a play. That's it.
That play was baffling. As a Clippers fan, if you're
the
watching
Jeff Van
that,
Gundy part,
No, that was awesome. Thank you, Jeff Van Gundy, for kind of injecting some life into the team, into some hustle stats. But no, just watching Jamal Murray nudge Kawhi like that, Kawhi's been beasting on people. You know what I mean? Like that play right there. If people are listening to this and they're wondering kind of what the difference is between attack mode Kawhi and not attack mode Kawhi, that was not attack mode Kawhi. That was the antithesis of what the Clippers need for game 2
That
from
type
Kawhi.
of play happens because Kawhi had already been a little bit out of rhythm and out of sorts. If he was in a good groove,
Yeah.
he's more decisive there. He gets to the bucket on him. So, yeah, it was strange to see. I didn't think we'd come out of the game and be like, wow, Kawhi had one of his worst playoff games. Like, that would be the reason
He
that the
really
Clippers
did.
lost. Now, he was still 9 of 15. It's the 15 part, though,
Right.
that you don't love. Only taking 15 shots.
And the 7.
And
Yeah.
the 7 turnovers, yes. But I thought about putting together the turnover tape of all 7 because
Oh, don't put yourself through that.
well,
Don't watch all those turnovers again.
I'm just saying I don't think it's as bad when you go over the tape. Like I even pulled the tape of the last 5 minutes of the second quarter to see how did they go on that 13-2 run. And you watch it, it's like it's a run. It's a run that happens in the NBA. Kawhi got a good look. James Harden had the step back after he dropped Michael Porter Jr. that's wide open and got a good look. Some of that is just make or miss stuff. Like it's not the end of the world. It wasn't that the Clippers did so many things wrong. They missed some shots. Jokic started hitting a couple. You know that's going to happen. And specifically with Kawhi and the turnovers, I already know 2 of them off top are just miscues between him and Ben Simmons because they haven't played much together. Like that's just guys being on a different page.
Yeah, I can't remember who tweeted it. It might have been Robert Flom, but he talked about this Clippers bench being kind of inexperienced together. And that was something that kind of just stayed in the back of my head a little bit because I was like, oh, yeah, they revamped the bench rotation at the All-Star break, which, again, is not halfway through the season. You have basically a third of the season with that. So I thought that was an interesting point of kind of like, this isn't an inexperienced bench together. We're going to need more than 12 minutes from Bogey. We're going to need more than 13 minutes from Ben Simmons, I think, or at least a better 13
I
minutes,
honestly,
I should say.
I gotta be honest. If you're looking at the stat line with Ben Simmons, I don't think that tells the story at all. I actually think he was pretty darn good. He was very physical
Okay.
with Jokic. I'll put it this way. They won the small ball minutes against Jokic in that game. Now they went +1, but you'll take it. They went +1 in I think 7 minutes against Jokic in the small ball. Like that's
Yeah.
that's great. That's another reason why it's like, damn, you
That's
should have
winning
won
it.
that
Yeah.
game. Ben looked pretty good.
He got so I guess the thing, and this goes back to the whistle thing, right? Because Ben picked up 3 fouls in 13 minutes, which is crazy. But if he is only going to play 13 minutes, I agree with you. Like it's not gonna be more than 15, I don't think, unless something's gone horribly wrong with Zoo's foul calls. I guess use the fouls in the right scenarios, right? Like if we got to play physical, because that's what Ben is here to do.
One of the worst fouls in the game was on Ben on the perimeter against Jokic, where he just totally sold it and flopped a foul, and it got called on Ben Simmons. He's like, "What?" Like, it was an it's one of the worst calls of the ball game. But Ben was physical with him, and I really liked it. They won those minutes, so honestly, I didn't have a problem with that. But I will say this: while it was working, while they won the minutes, they went +1, and people say, whatever, you went +1. It's like winning any minutes against Jokic with small ball is a huge bonus for you. Like, because I actually liked Coach Lue tried it out. He left the small ball out there early in the second quarter against Jokic when they were up big. And I thought, this is smart. If you're going to try it and see if you can have some success, you already have a double-digit lead. This is the time to do it. This is when you have to do it. And it worked. They lost the second quarter minutes when Ivica Zubac came out there and that 13-2 run happened. So Coach Lue stuck with it early in the fourth quarter, and I don't think Zoo came back in until around the 7-minute mark. And I was a little bit surprised by that because, and I did say on Twitter, put.zoo.in. Like, I was like a little bit frustrated because I felt like, okay, Zoo's only played, I think, 25 minutes heading into the fourth. Again, another guy they didn't exactly empty the tank with in this game minutes-wise. And while they were getting away with it, I just felt like, all right, come on, 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Let's put them in. Let's go, and let them play out the rest of the ball game. Yeah. Another thing that kind of frustrated me was, but that's not the reason they lost. They didn't lose those minutes. Could they have won them by more if Vita Zubac was out there? Maybe. He ended up being -8, and all of his minutes were against Jokic. I don't think he got any minutes when Jokic was off the floor and they were going small. And I think that may be a missed opportunity a little bit.
Ooh. Okay. I like that idea. I hope we see that in game 2.
I wouldn't be shocked. They didn't push things to the limit. And I think that's a fair criticism on Coach Lue in the game. Like, we played more minutes against Golden State. We played more guys, heavier minutes against Sacramento. This is the playoffs. What are we doing? Maybe it's a chess move. I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's just a recovery move. I think it's like, hey, like we are gassed. Rightfully so, right? It's not like those last 2 games of the regular season were a cakewalk or anything like that. Like they had to win those games to not be in the play-in. Imagine how this team would look if they had the extra 2 games under their belt. But I'm banking, I'm hoping that the weird rotation stuff, like you said, seeing the wrinkles with the small ball 5, not putting Zoo in when they're going small. I hope it was just to kind of like hedge and save some rest. And then we'll see more. I don't want to say serious because that makes game 1 seem like it wasn't serious. When I don't mean that disrespectfully at all, but some more playoff serious.
The only explanation I can have is, okay, the fatigue was real because of the altitude, and it looked like it with certain players out there. And he could argue that they had to show more, and I still have some chess moves left on the table to make. But I think you could also criticize it and say, Coach Lue thought he could get away with that and still win the game. Like, I can show less moves and still beat you, and now we're in the perfect situation. But they lost. So even though Denver might be more fatigued heading into the next couple of games because you used your guys a little bit less than they did, is it worth it when you're still down 0-1? Like, does it come back to haunt Denver in the end? And it's light year moves by Coach Lue, or I don't know. We'll find out, because I think you could retroactively, if they lose the series, criticize a lot of what happened in game 1.
100%. And we'll know in game 2 pretty quickly what, if we're going to have the serious rotations. Splitting, and also like playoffs, everyone gets excited. We're all looking at each possession, you know what I mean, with the magnifying glass. The goal is to split these first 2 games. It was a great opportunity that they absolutely threw away yesterday. But we still believe they can get the split. That the split is very much still on the table. You look at the Nuggets are playing 7 guys. Jalen Pickett played 5 minutes. They had Russ and Peyton Watson. They're playing 7 guys. The Clippers, if they get more aggression from Kawhi and they can sustain it, I still feel good about the split. Like the path to the split is there. You've brought it up a lot, and I totally agree. Cut down. Just step 1 is cut down on the stupid ass, on the lazy turnovers, and then I feel so much better about this game. Someone in the chat was lamenting the fact that we only put up, 110 points or whatever. And I agree with that. It was brutal to watch the offense because the Nuggets went back to more normal matchups on defense and just kind of locked in harder after that first quarter. And the Clippers couldn't match that. They couldn't, lock in step with that intensity up, turn up from the Nuggets. So like, I'm still feeling good about the split. Maybe I'm crazy. Oh, Adam's phone's cutting out. The gym is stopping him because of the gun show, I think. Adam, we're losing you, buddy. All right. Well, I'm gonna hope Adam's phone connects and look at some more of these questions. Yeah, I don't know. This is a tough one. Thank you, Jermaine Scott, for putting these level-headed takes in. We appreciate these. He said Ty Lue needs to exploit the Nuggets' weaknesses more, and don't worry about anyone's ego. Take a leaf from Adelman's book. Yeah, there was a lot more intensity in the Warriors game. I think fatigue played a factor. I'm not trying to discredit anything that the Nuggets did. I don't want it to seem like that. Sorry, I'm just texting Adam at his thing that his shit cut out. Oh, there we go. Adam's gone. yeah, if you're Clips fans, go to the games. F is asking what gyms are open on Easter. God's gym is open on Easter. F. No, go to a park and hoop. Go to a park and just play basketball. Yeah, I don't know. This game 2 is going to be incredibly difficult. Game 1 showed us what I think most people were expecting, which is a very close series. I was not one of the people who picked Clippers in 5 because that just felt crazy. But yeah, I don't know. Here's to no less turnovers in game 2, more attack ready Kawhi. We got Adam Oslin back. Adam,
I
are you
tried to get
back?
too cute with it and multitask and look up a stat on my phone, and I think that was the problem.
Can't do it, man. Not in the gym parking lot. I don't think their internet's built for that yet.
No, but what you were saying, there's
No,
still plenty of reasons to be positive.
right. Hey, you know what? We're not the Grizzlies.
Shea
Well, that
was
feels really
1
good,
for
right?
8, and they were up 32.
Fucking crazy. Yeah. So, what's your prediction for game 2? Are the Clippers coming back to Intuit with a dub?
I think they have to. This whole, hey, it's
Yeah,
not a
shit.
series
Yeah,
till
I'll
we
agree with
go
that.
down 0-2. Guys, 2021 was 4 years ago.
Let's
It's a
not do
totally
that
different
again.
team. And they ended up biting them in the ass against Phoenix, because maybe if they don't go down 0-2, they still win that series even with Kawhi out. So I'm not here for that. I don't think they have time to wait 2 games against Denver. Denver's too good. You have to have more of a sense of urgency against this team, because one of the things that I was most worried about is, can you out execute them in a tight game down the stretch? Well, they didn't. It wasn't necessarily because of Jokic and Jamal Murray as much, but other guys beat them. They have championship pedigree on this team. They know how to get it done when things get tight. I think they have a real advantage there. So I think they need to win game 2. I think Kawhi is going to have 28 plus. I think he'll be better. I don't know if James Harden will be. I think Ivica Zubac can still give you a really good ball game, but it comes down to turnovers. Again, they shot 50%. They outshot them from 3 as well. They just got to get shots up to begin with. So if they come out with the same focus and intensity they had early on in that game and do it for 48 minutes, they're all right.
Yeah, let's have more of quarter 1, basically. Like, we need more of quarter 1 from yesterday. The Hart, man, yeah, losing a game where Harden is so efficient with the ball is difficult. But I believe in the split. Here's to smart, purposeful basketball from the Clippers tomorrow. Adam, are you going to be doing a live after the game tomorrow?
Well, always on the radio. I mean, yeah. Do you want to come on?
All right. Yeah, I'll be on. I'll be doing a clips and dip one too. Man, they need to split, or tomorrow night is going to be not a very fun time. All right. Are you going to work out again later today, or are you all done?
I'm done. I'm fatigued. I feel like I was 5,280 feet up. I'm good. I'm done with the workout for today. I'll do a show later on tonight, probably.
All right. Watch Adam on Clippers Talk later. Have a good rest of your Easter. Hope you have good church or whatever everyone's doing. And hey, here's the Clippers and